Judge orders return of alleged MS-13 gang member to the U.S. Are you shocked? Don't be surprised. The world is changing, so is U.S. and our justice system. Our judge orders to bring back the deported criminals. Yes, you heard right. I will share this news with you, but before that, if you have yet not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe now and support us. Now let's start the video.
Judge Paula Zinnes wants the alleged MS-13 gang member and human trafficker returned to the U.S. by tomorrow. But the administration says she does not have the authority to do this. The White House has even made a major change to their legal team to better fight this judge, suspending a lawyer who they say failed to, quote, zealously advocate, unquote, on behalf of the U.S. At the same time, a ruling could be expected as early as this week from another Obama-appointed judge. James Boasberg is signaling that he will hold Trump administration officials in contempt of court for deporting hundreds of illegals to El Salvador's notorious mega prison. Wow, lots to unpack there. So, Katie, can you explain to me, and I know you're not Jonathan Turley, for example, but you've studied this long enough and have looked at this stuff long enough. Why do we hear from these judges that these types of folks who are shown to be in MS-13, who may have engaged in human trafficking, that they somehow deserve due process for after they entered the country illegally?
Well, in this particular case, they have found a technicality. And the technicality is that this man, who is an illegal immigrant, who has been here and ordered as he has been eligible for deportation. The technicality is that he wasn't allowed to be deported to El Salvador. Now he can be deported to other places. So is this guy going to come back to the United States and then be in ICE detention and they decide, okay, he's back, we're going to deport him somewhere else? That's probably what's going to happen here. So they're trying to find these little things that they can hang up this deportation process on and accuse the Trump administration of not doing their due diligence. And the narrative of this story at the beginning was they've deported a Maryland father. They implied that he was here illegally. They implied he was even a U.S. citizen. None of that is true. He's here illegally. DOJ alleges he's part of MS-13, but it's all about the fact that he was simply deported to the wrong place.
Great points. And Guy, it's the broad brush of the media that's trying to say, look, they did that to him. It could happen to you, Guy Benson, or Molly Line, or Katie Pavlich, that you could be deported at any time. But again, it seems like the media is going out of their way to try to find these specific examples of clerical errors to try to kind of justify the fact that maybe MS-13 gang members or Tren de Aragua should not be sent to El Salvador prisons or elsewhere.
So to Katie's point, yes, this is a technicality in this particular case, but technicalities matter. So if they did it wrong and they're admitting error, bring him back. And if you want to deport him elsewhere, fine. You have to work within the strictures of the law. I think that is important. I do think you're absolutely right, however, that the media, many of them, including it's like their allies on Capitol Hill, the Democrats, they spent 4 years either dead silent about or cheering on an invasion of 10 million illegal border crossings. And I said this earlier in the week on America's Newsroom. I don't want to listen to any complaints from you if you did not give a damn about 10 million illegal border crossings. It's important to get things right and to have due process. I'm in favor of that. I think you have to build credibility, though, to make these points, because the opposite question could be, all right, you found 1 or 2 cases that might be problematic. What about the other 100,000 people that have been deported already under the Trump administration, many of whom had deportation orders, violent crimes? Why were any of those people in this country to begin with? And those are not the tough questions that a lot of these people have been asking at all, and they should have been all along. So some of this stuff feels like politicized crocodile tears, and I say that as someone who supports due process. The credibility there is missing from so many journalists.
And Molly, poll after poll shows that Americans support mass deportations, not just of gang members, but in general. If you're here illegally, well, it's time to go because you've exhausted resources in major American cities, social services, educational services, policing, for example, where we see budget cuts, and the people that are here legally are the ones suffering the most.
Yeah, and we're seeing really a stream of releases from ICE all across the nation where they're taking people into custody and saying, look, this is a convicted drug dealer, drug trafficker pulled out of a neighborhood. They're being deported. This is someone who's wanted for murder in another country. We've caught them today and they're being deported. This case, though, is not that case. This is an individual who, as far as he's being portrayed, does not have a criminal record, an actual arrest record. as Pam Bondi was questioned by Shannon Bream, who really tried to get to the bottom and asked a lot of follow-up questions on this regarding this individual. And she went on to say that ICE has testified that he was a gang member, but it isn't someone with a criminal record. And Shannon tried to dig into this, talking about
as far as being convicted, you mean?
Yeah, and she talked with the AG about getting into the court of public opinion on this, seeking clarity. And Pam Bondi went on to say, that ICE was the one that testified that he should be here because he's studying to be an electrician. At the same time, he's got a local union that says they were led to believe that all this time he's been here legally, that he's a resident of Maryland, a sheet metal apprentice who works full time. So he does have people behind him at the local level saying that this MS-13 gang member is not accurate, in which case then we've got this clerical error that it goes back to. So.
Although you also, and that's fair, and I think that's a sympathetic story, potentially. We'd like to get all the details. I just have to point this out, and I think it's important. We don't just have the right to deport gang members and convicted and violent felons.
Correct.
If you are in the country unlawfully, if you came here illegally, we can deport you.
Because it's a crime.
Right.
It's also a crime to enter the country without permission, and that tends to get lost when we're talking about deporting people with violent criminal records. But you can't just walk into the country anymore.
Yeah, and most of the media seems to be focusing on the fact that there are 3 children involved. Some are special needs, therefore he should get a pass. I think the way it plays out ultimately is that he will be taken back here and then deported somewhere else besides an El Salvadorian prison. The question is, does the family go with him to this particular place? And we're going to see how that plays out. I'm sure we'll talk about that during the week.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.